Welcome to the third Education Grand Round hosted by DED, and thank you for being all here in this afternoon. Today we have a session, presentation on e-learning, which will be followed by a panel discussion with some experts. Thank you for being here for both our participants who are here at the moment, as well as those participants who are online with us in Islamabad and Nairobi. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the presenter. Dr. Jacqueline Marie Dias holds the Nuruddin Jivraj Professorship of Nursing. She is an associate professor and director, post-RN BSCN program and blended learning at Sonam. She is the only nursing faculty to hold a joint appointment with the Department for Educational Development since 2004. Dr. Dias has been an educator for the last 30 years. She completed her BSCN from McMaster University, Hamilton, Canada, and her Master's in Education from the University of Wales, UK. Her doctorate was in nursing education from Ambrosiana University, Milan, Italy. Dr. Dias's greatest contribution to Sonam has been in the area of curriculum design, delivery, and evaluation. Twice as chair of the curriculum committee, she has led Sonam through major revisions and major curricular changes in 2000 to 2003, and again in 2007 and 2008. Her curricular focus in 2008 led to the operationalization of the National HSC Primary Nursing Care Curriculum at Sonam. At the national level, she has been the convener for the National Curriculum for BSc in Nursing in 2011. The curriculum is still in existence currently. Additionally, she introduced electives in the BScN program at AKU Sonam as part of the HSC curriculum. She has been instrumental in setting up the examination cell at Sonam, which has led to the standardization of examinations throughout the School of Nursing. Furthermore, Dr. Dias has served as the chair of the professional licensure examination for BScN program from 2008 to 2013. For the time at Sonam, under her leadership, she has directed the execution of 44 courses into the BScM curriculum from 2008 to 2012. She's the recipient of many awards. She is the first nursing faculty at AQ to receive the Award of Excellence in Education from His Highness the Aga Khan. Dr. Dias is also the founding director of Sonam to hold the portfolio of blended learning and has transformed the entire post-RN BScN program from a didactic mode to a blended learning modality, which has been in effect since 2011 to 2015. Since 2015, she is also holding the administrative appointment of interim co-director, Center for Innovation in Medical Education, and she's also very humble. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Dias to the podium.
Okay, thank you very much, Azim, for the opportunity. I think I'm the first nurse to present in your educational grand round, right? So I hope I'm not the last, right? And I hope more nurses will join in this venture. Okay. Right, that's the usual slide, and you know that. Okay, I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to make it as interactive as possible. Those of you who know me as a teacher know my style, and those who don't know will come to know today. So when you think of e-learning, what comes to your mind? Yeah, anyone?
Incorporating technology into learning.
Okay, what else? Can you hear me or am I lost?
Yeah, you can hear.
All right, good. What else?
Learning through virtual world.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Learning beyond the confinements of walls.
Okay, great. Right, so it's electronic learning, covers a range of technology for teaching and learning, utilizing electronic technologies to access educational curriculum outside of a traditional classroom, like you said, outside the walls, And it involves the use of a computer, an iPad, everything, right? So that's basically it. Another question I'm going to ask you. How many of you have taken a course online? Okay. How many of you have taught a course online? Great. Okay. I can see smiles at the back. I know that. Okay. So what is blended learning then?
Partly electronic and
Yeah.
partly face-to-face.
Okay, excellent. Right? What else? Anything else that you can think of when you think of blended learning?
The percentage.
Okay, sometimes it could be. Yeah, that could happen, Rihanna. Okay, for the purpose of this presentation, it's not coming? No? So what should I do? I didn't put it on?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, technology at its best. Red light is on.
Yeah.
Now I'm screaming? Okay. Oopsie, this has come out. Anyway, okay, so blended learning integrates both the face-to-face as well as the online learning in the delivery of a course. And I think you agree with it. Okay. So why bother doing blended learning, e-learning? Why is this move suddenly there? Does it have, yes, sir. It's possible. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's made it possible?
The internet technology, basically the speed of internet.
Okay. Anything
Now
else?
you're able to deliver video, audio, other things via that platform.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
Nice.
Yes, David.
Contemporary learners don't want to sit in lecture halls.
Exactly. The modern learner does not want to sit. Remember, we're dealing with a generation of students and a millennial generation, right? Our kids are not used to sitting in a classroom. They've gone are the days. Remember, there was a day when we were teachers. You know, we had control of all the knowledge. Today, when do we have control of the knowledge? When we teach and we come, you ask, you know, what is this question? They've already Googled it and they give you the answer. So we're dealing with a totally different, you know, generation of students, right? So yeah, definitely the convenience, you can study at your own time. There's quality, there's flexibility, you get an edge, right? To be, you know, I'm a blended learning person, I'm in e-learning. So yeah, definitely, it just summarizes all of that. Okay. Just to give you some of the reasons why the School of Nursing embarked on a blended learning program was our philosophy. We had, you know, impact, quality, relevance, access, and we had a lot of mature students. Very often, sometimes, if you want to do blended learning, you've got to do it with, you know, mature. The students have to be a little bit mature to end into that. And then, of course, there's capacity building of the faculty. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick video. Okay, and oh, see? Welcome. I'm going to show you a classroom of the future. What do you think the classroom is going to be like in 2050? Yeah, virtual. There won't be a classroom. Okay. There may not be physical presence, or there may be. What else? Exactly. Okay.
Everyone having some gadgets in their hands.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you're going to see in a little while in the video. Go ahead. Okay, so you think you can work in this kind of an environment? Yeah, it takes learning, definitely. Okay, definitely. It does. And I think you need an infrastructure. That's the main thing. In order to support blended learning, e-learning, whatever, you need that. So, I've just put in up pictures, but you need funding. Okay, it costs a lot of money. We had a grant that enabled us to start the blended learning program at the School of Nursing. We had a supportive deans in the past. We have a supportive dean sitting at the back there, Dean David there. So that's there. Okay. We had a lot of staff training, and I think we couldn't do it if we didn't have a lot of faculty development and staff training that went hand in hand. And we had media production. We had to orientate not only just the faculty, but even the students. Because even for the students, this was a different way of, getting organized and, working. And of course, mentorship was very, very critical. Okay. At School of Nursing, when we had to have human resources. So I have these 4 pretty people, two handsome gentlemen, and 2 pretty ladies. Can I ask you to stand up? Okay. Okay, I mean, this is the team that actually put the blended learning. A lot of things, the director of the program, but if it wasn't for these 4 people, the instructional designer, the web person, the media production team, we would never have been able to put this program together. It's been a 4-year struggle, and it has its ups and downs, and I'm going to share that with you in a little while. But we needed that. That was.
So I guess we can clap for these.
We should. Okay. What we actually did was an intensive faculty development. Many of us took the program from Azra, and then we didn't have money to send, and Azra, costs a lot of money, right, on our programs. So we actually went forward and developed our own program then on faculty development, and we were then enabled us to, to train. I think over 32 of our faculty in blended learning. We have another program starting in a week's time. So that was it. And we like to, take some credit because we got accreditation from the AAC-JME as well. So that training was, very good. And we were even told that if we were to continue this training, we could turn it into a diploma. And we've got, permission for that as well. There are lots of e-tools available, and those who are into e-tools probably have used them. So that's available, they're free, they're downloadable, and you can use them. Whenever you think of doing an e-learning or a blended learning program, make sure you have some quality mechanisms in place. And we have what we call at School of Nursing, APEC, which is called All Program Evaluation. But we also have to have a lot of curriculum review. You've got to ensure that the curriculum, is like what you said, you cannot have 100%. You've got to have a blend of both, face-to-face as well as online. So you've got to make sure that is there. You've got to take into consideration student feedback, faculty feedback, and the post feedback, and be in a process of continuous change. So whenever we did a lot of this kind of thing and we started, we would have spent more time actually, reviewing what we did and seeing where we could change it. Today we are successful that we have a program, but that took a lot of time on our side. What have been our strengths? Like I mentioned earlier, funding has been a key source for us. The infrastructure, you need to have that if you're planning to implement a program. You've got to have faculty that are motivated. Very often, you have faculty who say, why should I bother? I'm about to retire. I'm about to do this. I'm having a good life. Why should I, go? Because it takes a lot of toll on the faculty as well. It took a lot of our time that went into it. And finally, the flexibility of the program. It enabled our students. We started the program at a time when there was the conflict in Syria, and it was just starting in 2010. And we enabled our students to complete the program and go back to we didn't know it would escalate into a war and all of that, but the students came to us and said, look, why should we do this program? You started it blended. So it was our trial for us, and we sent them back to Syria. So they were able to be with their families and do that. Another success story that we've had at the School of Nursing is we had one person who was in our program who migrated to Canada. When she migrated to Canada, you have within 5 years to complete a program. What happened with her, she had a very bad road traffic accident, and she was on a ventilator for almost a year. And then there was a time came where either she did come back, she would have not been able to complete the program. So we said, why not let her do it from there and complete the program in Canada? So this was another success story. And the third success story, which I always love to tell, is the irate mother-in-law. Okay, we had a student who was from Hyderabad, and the mother-in-law would not let her come for 2 days in a row to Karachi to study with. So she said, you have to go back every day and do it. So we said, why? Let's, please the mother-in-law, let her be happy. So we offered her the program in Hyderabad. So that was another success story of us. So these have been, examples which have actually, told us that we can do it. That's the important thing. Well, even the students said there were many strengths, and they said it was cost effective. The first time we offered blended, they said, Miss, we did spend ₹1 on making a photocopy. Everything, was online. So they were the happiest. It was convenient. Many of them were able to work. Our success story is in our post-RN BScM program. Since the program has started in 2011, at any point in time, 40% of our post-RN students are able to continue their jobs here or anywhere. So that enables them to study, full-time and still work. So that is our strength. It's time-friendly. Most of them say, after the children have been fed, husband has gone to bed, that's when we start our studies. And they do that, and they said it's worth. And then, of course, they were exposed to online, which has enabled them to work both in the hospital as well as when they've gone abroad for masters and for other levels, it has helped them, Have I lost them? Okay. Well, the faculty also shared some of their strengths. It was novel and challenging. They said the learning required e-learning methodologies in terms of instructional design. Because if you're teaching, online and using e-learning, you cannot go and use the same, way of testing. So even we had to change our way of testing, and we went more to online testing, developing computer programs. And finally, we had critical e-discussion forums, the faculty, and they said the students were performing at a much higher level than they would have done if it was a classroom. Well, challenges accompany us, right, in life. And we were not without it. Workload, the faculty initially said, and including myself, it was crazy because the work was so much for us to do. It was easy to come and deliver a class for 3 hours and go back and, do it. But here we were on call 24/7. The students said, Miss, I don't know what's happening. My computer's not working. My lights have failed. So we really had a lot of issues. Technology was not at its best. People were struggling. We were struggling, and I think Amber was there with us from the beginning. I mean, her hair might have turned white as well, because we used to keep on calling, Amber, what do we do now? Iman, what do we do now? So these were the kind of things. And of course, student engagement. Even for the students, it was a new experience. And they told us, it is very challenging, it's very interesting, but Miss, it's easy to come and read your lecture and come to class, because then we started using what is a flipped classroom. You know what's a flipped classroom? Where you actually prepare yourself and then come in. So it's a higher level of engagement. So the students actually found this process very, very difficult, especially those who had committed to have an easy life for 2 years. Suddenly life had taken a change for them. Well, they missed the traditional face-to-face. I remember I used to have students when we first started in 2011, they used to be at my door, Miss, we haven't seen your face, we have to see your face. So that's what the kind of things. Resources, computer availability on campus. We didn't have as many, computers as we have now. Internet connections were bad, the bandwidth was not enough, and of course, living in Karachi, anyone knows power failure at any point in time. So you get a call and Miss, I have to submit the assignment at midnight, and the lights I cannot. So we had to deal with all these issues that we were faced with. Faculty also had challenges, what I've said, teaching with a different modality. Mixed feelings, some of this, why should I do it? I'm forced to do it. Many of them felt they were on call for 24 hours. Varied expectations from the administration and from other faculty. And time consuming, and checking and review. Because when you are giving a discussion, it's easy for me to give a question and say, hey, what did you answer? What did you? But when I do an online discussion, what ends up happening is that I have to read 30 people's responses and then respond. So that takes a lot of my time, right? I've got to make notes, I've got to do that, I've got to, sometimes the discussion could go in another direction, I've got to bring the students back. So that was a lot of things. So the faculty felt that they had to do a lot on their side, and they complained. Yeah, believe me, they did. Well, we had other issues, budgetary constraints. We were not sure if our grant would run out. Integrated technology-based assessment was another issue. Then we improved web and security. We had some of our students, because they were working, working as occupational nurses in the Sui gas plant and other places. So they were giving the test from a distance, and we had to just, trust them that yes, they are, doing, and nobody else is doing the test. So these were the issues that we had. Copyright issues. always reminded by the library, this has to be copyright. You cannot put this video without it getting copyright. And, specialized and dedicated technical support was another area. So these were all issues that we faced. Well, we had success stories. You can see our pretty pictures. We've aged and beautified over the years. But the point is we did a number of trainings. So we did it for the staff, we did it for the faculty, we did it at every forum that we got, we, offered to, do these things. And these were our success stories. One of the other things that because we had a grant, so we were able to do an innovative clinical placement in Hyderabad. And what was there is our students always did all their clinical placements here in Karachi. But because we got a grant, they were able to stay in Hyderabad. We were able to, keep them there. They were able to have their clinicals. And that actually benefited us immensely in our program. Of course, we're all academicians. We took out a number of research publications in what is happening here at AKU, of our limitations, of our strengths, and that could be available if anyone likes them. We also made a number of presentations at different conferences, both here at the SOTL conference and things like that, plus abroad. So we've been able to, publish and present widely, both nationally and internationally. And so what's the progress as of now? Well, the progress as of now is that our entire post-R and BSN is completely online. It took us 5 years, but we did it and we are proud of ourselves. 16 of the courses in the BSCN program are now in a blended learning mode, including English, and 6 of the courses in the MSCN are offered in the blended learning mode. So, I think we've got enough of a success story to say, yes, we can do it. What's our way forward if you were to use e-learning and things? That make sure you have a budget. I think that's the pearls of wisdom I can leave you with. It's very nice to say, yes, I want to do it. But if you don't have a budget system and you don't have money in your pocket, it's very, very difficult. So that's, that goes without saying. You need dedicated IT personnel for the project. So that's very, very important. You cannot do it as a faculty alone. You're setting yourself up for a failure. And I can tell you that, like I said, because I had this team that's here on my right, I was able to do it. So you've got to invest in a team. You've got to have that. You've got to collaborate. You've got to give protected time to your faculty. This is not possible. We were very lucky because of the way AKU runs, and there was a semester change. So we actually had 2 years where we had 3 months fully, there was nothing going on. We finished in about end of September, and then right up, we didn't start till January. So that was the time we used to develop our courses. So that worked very well for us. You have to collaborate with partners. We collaborate with partners nationally and internationally. And I always remember going to Azra way back in 2010 and saying, I want to do this. What advice would you give me to start it? And I remember our first meeting over biryani. I don't know if you remember it or not, but she got it from the food street. And then we had biryani and we discussed it. So, you can see it. It takes a lot on you, but it can be done. And finally, you need you need faculty development, you need mentorship, but you also need a supportive leadership. So if your leader is there to support you, yes, you can. And I can proudly say that, we started at a time when all my bosses were supportive of the idea, the deans at the School of Nursing. So I think that was, instrumental in getting this program moving. I have a little video to end, but it's also to make you laugh and to relax. So Amber, can I request you?
Emma. Huh? Emma. Emma.
Every day it's getting on my nerves.
Emma.
Oh, I'm
Emma.
begging you, please.
Emma.
Leave me alone. Oh, you
Okay, so I think the message is there. You can use it, but use it with caution because you don't know where you may end up, right? Okay, so that brings me to the end of the last slide is just a pretty picture of AKU, I think, or School of Nursing. So it's just the last slide, and that's thank you. So thank you very much for your patience and for listening. I believe we'll now move into a panel discussion where you can direct your question to the experts. Thank you.
Okay, So now let's move to our panel discussion. And for our panelists, we have Azra Naseem. Azra, could we have you up here? She is the Assistant Director for the Blended and Digital Learning Network at ETU. She's an e-learning specialist and is leading the Blended Learning Faculty Development Program at ETU. She has established a multi-campus, multi-continent blended learning program in Pakistan, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The blended learning program included in service development, curriculum design, content development, teaching, evaluation, strategy, monitoring, and research in higher education has spread across 4 developing countries. We also have Dr. Sadia Masood. She is an assistant professor in dermatology. Her MHPE thesis was on blended learning, and which she designed and has implemented a dermatology program for residents, and is the first to introduce blended learning in dermatology PGME training. One of our panelists could not be here. He was from outside AQ. Unfortunately, his wife is here in DR, so because of that, he's unable to make it. So, Jack, you can join. So, any questions for our panelists regarding both this program and e-learning or blended learning in general? Any questions that you may have?
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, of course. Jackie, as usual, you are super when it comes to presentation. Blended learning is the way to go. And we know that as future schools and as future classrooms, we will be more virtual students in virtual classrooms. What really, and you said, like what you presented was that your complete program of RN is now on, post-RN, BSCN is now on online. And so how much contact do you have with your students? Or is it completely online? Because that is something that I wanted to know about.
You cannot have any program completed. HEC will clobber you, right?
Yes.
So what we do is at maximum we have a listing an arbitrary time. So at maximum we say that at least 40% has to be face to face and 60% has to be online. In 1 or 2 of the didactic courses, we have even gone up to 70%, but mostly it is 40-60 is our ratio.
So I mean, another question which is related to it is that when you have these online courses and then followed by or preceded by a face-to-face contact session, is that content also addressed in the face-to-face period, or is that completely packed in the blended learning in the online module?
Yeah, both ways. In some cases, it is addressed. And the second thing is we don't call ourselves, we call us not online, we call it blended learning. Okay, so the students have the option throughout the course that they're taking to address that there is a question and answer forum on the Moodle, and we use Moodle as our interface. So in that they can post the questions. If as a faculty I feel that during the face-to-face I need to address that, I will do that, or my faculty will do that. But if not, and most of the time, because there is the question answer forum, you give a response, because maybe a long time before you actually have a face-to-face again. So that way the students are not deprived of an answer. And we kind of tell our faculty have made it a norm that at least within 48 hours they respond to a query. Okay, so sometimes mostly we have found that they're technical queries, but very often because when you're doing a discussion, like for example, you pose a question on the discussion forum, we give a week to answer the question or 2 weeks depending on the course itself. So during that time, the faculty from time to time will look at the forums and will then, because very sometimes the students, discussion may go in another direction, so you're going to bring them back. So that then gets addressed. So the issues that they have get addressed. So these are, ways we have. So we have a social corner, we have a question answer corner, and we have the critical incidents where you're actually answering them, you will respond to the students' queries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a question. How do you address the online etiquette system?
I mean,
It's called.
They have rules
Yes,
or
that's a very interesting way. In blended learning or e-learning, you don't call them etiquettes, you call them netiquettes. Okay, that's the terminology that's used. So yes, so when we have our orientation programs and we have the orientation is face to face, we actually have an entire session dedicated to netiquettes. So you can't, you can't be rude, you can't be, there, and we have marks that are dedicated. So how you respond, you can't say, okay, I agree, okay, I disagree. That's not acceptable. So you've got to have, critical thinking and reporting on those. So that's how we take care of it. And if necessary, if we find the thing is going, we go back in the middle of the course and remind them, or we send them up the PowerPoint or something, that just remember, if it gets, we've had issues with that, especially initially.
Thank you very much. Very nice presentation, Jackie. What I would like to ask is, what is the mode of assessment? Is it formative assessment through question and answers during the session, or do you have a summative assessment at the end of the whole course?
Again, it depends on the nature of the course. In many courses, what we have we have formative assessments along the way, but we make it more creative. And if you go on the net, there are things called like hot potatoes. There are tests like jigsaw puzzles that you can do. So we incorporate that as formative. But we do have to have a summative exam at the end. And when I say summative, it depends. Like I talked about the online assessment. So say, for example, you have a course, you might have a midterm and you might have a final exam. And the midterm component might be, where you have to answer about 30 questions or something. And that exam is not done on a paper pencil. It is done online. So we book the LRC, that is our Learning Resource Center. And we have the students go in and give the online exam and they come out. So we have that system. So because you cannot, have a paper pencil exam and then say, it's a blended learning course. So we have to match that. And very often for our nursing courses, we have something called CIM, concept maps. So they do intensive, and those can be our computer run exercises. So they could actually discuss a patient from the time he's admitted to the time he's discharged through a concept map, and the faculty can give them, feedback, on the diagnosis, on the treatment, on nursing care, whatever they want to do it, and it goes back and forth. So
how do you manage the time?
We usually have everything, time bound. So like most of the things, end the students, we used to first end it on Saturday. Then the students request us to end it on Friday night so that they get the weekend free and start every forum on Monday morning. So we've, complied with them.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. Hello, I have a question.
Please go ahead. And please identify yourself first.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Noshaba from Islamabad. Assalamualaikum to everyone. I have a question, what is the future of accreditation of these blended and online programs? Do we have any regulation? We will be facing any regulation on the recognition of these programs? And what will be the percentage of a program? Are you working on it?
Hey, Noshaba, my name is Azra, and let me just try to respond to this question. So from higher education, Pakistan's perspective, they do recognize online programs, but there are certain guidelines available for that. In terms of blended learning, it's very interesting because the way Higher Education Commission defines blended learning is very different from the way AKU defines blended learning. From higher education's perspective, last year I had some conversation with a committee that was basically working on developing some standards for recognizing sort of virtual and blended and all sorts of programs. And when I described the modality or the way we look at blended learning, their response was, "Oh, but your programs are all face-to-face programs. You're only using technology." And so they don't define blended learning the way AKU defines blended learning. So at this point in time, just as Jackie, the model that Jackie has presented, at this point in time, it's okay from HEC's perspective. Because from their perspective, we're still full-time on-campus courses. I think in terms of the question that you're asking in terms of future, well, clearly HEC recognizes that something needs to be done because a lot of universities and a lot of other organizations want to create online and sort of virtual, blended, and all sorts of programs, and so they're moving towards developing some standards, guidelines, and so on. AKU, well, there are faculty members from AKU who are in conversations with relevant people in HEC. We don't know to what extent we will be able to influence those policies and standards, but we're clearly involved, we're engaged, and so yes, the future clearly, we as a country, we are moving towards more online and virtual and so on.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
I have one question.
Dr. Tariq first.
Thank you, Jackie. Excellent presentation. My question is regarding, previously we had the traditional method of teaching, and now you have introduced blended learning in post-RN program. And about, as you said, about 60% of the program is blended, and otherwise it's blended. So, have you had a chance to see what improvement or what change in the graduates you are seeing? Is there any improvement in the outcome? Have you, as compared to the traditional, those who have gone through a traditional teaching as compared to those who have gone through blended learning teaching, are they better graduates? Are they performing better in future? Have you done any study, or maybe in future you may be planning?
We haven't done any study, but I can give you concrete examples. They learn how to make a vodcast and a podcast. So the feedback that we get is that, I actually made a vodcast of my child's birthday, party. Many of them have told us that we have been, once we went back to, services, we are able to engage more closely in it because, and the computerization and in other places. Many of our students who've gone abroad have written emails and, in communication on, Facebook, that what we learned in our blend has actually enabled us to move quicker now into it. And many of them have said, so it's actually work, but I do not have any, study as such to provide that, but Azra might have something.
So just want to add a few things. We've also supported faculty members in East Africa, the School of Nursing in East Africa, to create and offer blended learning courses. So I can give you one example of a course in Tanzania, AKU Tanzania, offered by School of Nursing there. And in this particular course, they used to have about 70% students who would fail the course every year. The year that they offered the course in a blended modality, everybody passed the course. And the results were really striking for the faculty there, for us, and we thought, what happened? This is a course where at least 70% fail every year. What happened? And so we looked at the results and we looked at what happened, and what we realized was that what blended learning had done was it had enabled the students to have access to content outside the campus. And they could go back to the content again and again. They could practice their online assessments and stuff. And so when it was time for their final assessment, they all performed better. And so, as of course, one could say that, yes, the use of technology enabled them to have access to content, etc. But really the question for me is, yes, so blended learning did enable them, but we could, could we do it in other ways? It's just that it allowed people to access content in multiple ways. And so the more time they spent, the better their performance was. So there's this clear question. From other contexts, not from AKU, but from other contexts, we have seen research studies where people have compared face-to-face teaching with online teaching, completely online teaching. And the results that we have seen so far from research studies, with all, you know, recognizing that there were methodological issues and all of that, the results that we've seen is that there's actually no significant difference in terms of performance of students, whether they're studying face-to-face or online. And one of the reasons for no significant difference is that although people have, you know, a lot of universities have moved towards blended or online teaching, there's no change in pedagogy. And if there's no change in pedagogy, then there's, you know, it's very sort of, I think, naive for us to expect a significant change in student performance. But I think your question is very interesting to look at. Our graduates, you know, are the ones who attended a traditional program, and those who have now been exposed to blended learning, how are they performing as nurses? You know, so I think you're talking about more than just their academic performance, which you're actually thinking about. And that, I think, would be very interesting, because as Jackie has pointed out, this blended learning program has perhaps given them skills that they could apply in their practice now as, you know, nurses in this modern world and so on, which the other types of programs would not enable them to. So I think this is really something that could be taken up.
We compared the study between the blended learning and traditional learning. Among our undergraduate, medicine undergraduate, we made a dermatology program, but that went very well. The students were very happy with the blended learning model, because in dermatology, if you are going to see a picture, you are going to see again and again, then the knowledge retention would be increased. So in dermatology, it's the best strategy to adopt a blended learning. So when we compare the result, we give them pre-test and then compare the result, pre-test and post-test. And the blended learning group was better in their post-test scores. And similarly, we had a focus group discussion, and all of them were happy with their blended learning strategy, and they found it very easy, convenient, and flexible, because our postgraduate, our resident, they have less time to study. And normally, whenever we are taking their normal teaching session, most of the resident, they are not there, because they are busy in their rounds, in their clinical activities. So for all of them, the blended learning or e-learning is the best strategy. So and all the residents have this suggestion that blended learning should be incorporated not only in dermatology, but all the other specialty. I think that would be a good addition. Currently, only the School of Nursing is doing its job, but all of us, even all the undergraduate, postgraduate program, we just need to work hard to implement the blended learning in our curriculum.
Thank you. So we do have some impact that is coming in.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that so Sonam has been the flag bearer for this, and we're extremely proud of them. So the medical college has definitely lagged behind, and we've recently started in the past year, we've completed a needs assessment study to identify the needs of all the stakeholders, the students as well as the faculty. And Jackie, much of what you talked about has come out even just out of that needs assessment, that you need protected time, that you need faculty development, that you need the infrastructure and the support. So now, you know, we're lagging behind, but we're hoping to catch up soon.
If I can just add, so there's this big needs assessment for undergraduate medical education program, and we will build on it. But for, you know, there's also a small pilot that we're working on right now. I mean, with Kulsum, we're in the medical school, we're experimenting with mobile learning, and we're looking at how mobile learning can be incorporated in the education of students, residents, and we've also included now nurses, the practicing nurses in the hospital. So so there, I mean, this is really something very interesting that we're trying to figure out, because you need, when you are in your actual practice, I mean, how can you continue to upgrade your knowledge and so on?
Well, thank you for the lovely presentation. My name is Dr. Arsalan. I'm Assistant Professor of Anatomy at Ziauddin University. And I aspire to set up a blended or an online learning platform one day for my university. So my question is a bit technical one. I wanted to know which tools have you experimented with, and which of those tools have you found useful, and which do you not recommend to test, especially for a medical setup or medical university?
The first is what is your platform? And we use Moodle as our interface. So that was the first thing. When you use, then it depends what you want to use and to what extent and what course. Very often we found online discussions are the best. CMAPs are very good, because CMAPs work very well with nurses. And so that has been, you know, kind of one of the hallmark of our program. We use Mahara for a short period of time. We use e-portfolios for a short period of time. But then there was but one of the things that we found that works best, and if you are planning to implement, I would say use the Google Drive. The Google Drive is the best. It's available, it's free of cost, and you can have a group of as many people as you want, and, you know, share your, you know, password, and you can actually comment. So if you start, for example, something, even if you don't have a Moodle, you just use Google Drive. We are starting a course next week with people from outside AKU, and we are actually using Google Drive for that. So as long as you have a Gmail account, I mean, you can start it and you can use it. So you can reply, you can do it, people can give you feedback, and you can follow the discuss. So that would be a
collaborative working on
exactly,
a single project.
It's like you write a paper, right?
Yeah,
and you
right.
know, you
everybody's
have
writing the paper on the same
exactly,
platform.
Yeah. So that would be the best way. But then as you get it, there are lots, like the slide I shared, there are lots of, you know, tools. Then you, if you want to bring in testing, you know, like hot potatoes, the students love it.
Right.
And they love to do it because, you know, it gets a chime. There's Hangman. There are many things out there. So, you know, you could just see, but first you've got to be familiar with them yourself, and, you know, play around with them, then go and implement it with the students. So that would be my advice to starting a program.
Thank you.
Can I just add, so I'm working with a faculty member right now who's designing an online module for anatomy, basic sciences in medical college. And so one of the things, I mean, you know, in addition to what Jackie has said, I think one of the things that you will find is that there's a lot of material already available in the domain of anatomy. So there are lots of videos, they're very high quality videos and so on. So there's a lot which is already out there, pictures and so on. I think your challenge might be to get copyright clearance, because, you know, before you use them, because that's what we're dealing with right now. The other thing is that, of course, you can create your own material and you can use it. So anatomy, I feel, is one subject where we're playing around with a lot of things. We haven't yet developed the module. We're still in the process. So I can tell you that this is clearly, I mean, if you start with anatomy, there's a lot that you can do. So, but build on what's already available. And then think about your pedagogy. Think about how are you going to engage your students to actually access that video before they come to your lecture, for instance. So that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any questions from East Africa? Is East Africa still connected? Okay.
Yes.
So is there a question?
Okay, this is Edward. Thank you, Jackie, for the presentation. I really also want to add that in terms of benefits of blended learning, having had some kind of experiences, it is like it helps as faculty or even the learners to develop that kind of independence. It's like you are able to look for things on your own, find some resources or materials on your own. That is what I wanted to add on that. And then I wanted to find out from you, is it true that any facilitator who is poor in a face-to-face session is also very poor when it comes to online facilitation. And if that is true, how have you dealt with that in the School of Nursing? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I think we have had both kind of people, right? Some people may not be very good, as faculty, standing in front of a classroom, but when it comes to using, online and, answering it, they actually do a better job. And we've seen that because we've taken out 2 publications where we looked at critical incidences and we've looked at the analysis of the online discussions. So we've actually seen a better rate with maybe, someone like me who's very good at speaking may not have as good a rate as, in online. So that is something that we've seen that, and that study is their cognitive engagement of students. One of our faculty, Samina, was leading that study. The other thing what I found is very often because we had time, like with East Africa, we were able to offer almost 6 of our courses with East Africa in both in Tanzania, in Uganda, as well as in Nairobi, both the nursing and the science courses. So when there was a shortage of faculty I think it was Tanzania, we were able to work with Kerenisa and we were able to offer it. Also part of the blended learning allowed that in the faculty development program. So what we found sometimes, sometimes it's because of accent, there were some issues because of the faculty had different accents, or maybe they did not understand the cultural context. So we realized then with us that we had to have, inbuilt not only just netiquettes, what I talked about, but even a cultural understanding of the issues. One of the courses that we offered was called Culture, Health and Society. So I think that added a very new flavor to the students because we ran that student in Karachi and in Nairobi at the same time. And our students, the evaluation was excellent because the students said they benefited immensely from learning the culture of Africa through the course, and the students from Africa said the same of Pakistan. So I think there was a lot of, the cultural diversity brings its issues, but at the same time, the students have learned, immensely. And we forwarded this feedback to the provost and to other people. The only thing that we have a problem with, and I'm thinking, all of you who are from AKU would know, is the timing of the semesters. We have different start dates in East Africa. We have different start dates in Karachi. So very often, even if we want to offer something collaboratively, we can't because of the start dates. In this case, what we did, we were starting in Jan. They started almost end of Feb. So, but my faculty were excellent. What they did was they continued the course. So the students came in later, and Africa was ready to negotiate for 2 weeks earlier. So we were able to do it. So I think we've had issues and challenges, but I think it's, it's like a reflection in action and on action. So if you're able to resolve the issues there and then, you're able to, take out a lot of what happens, and you don't wait for it for the end of the semester and say, oh, there's a problem. I think you've got to be, in sync with what's happening from day one.
Any more questions, Edward?
No, we are fine. Thank you.
Okay, so, any more questions from Islamabad?
Thank you.
So with that, I'd like to thank Dr. Jackie Dias and our experts, Dr. Ms. Azra and Dr. Sadia. Okay, and with that, we will draw to a conclusion our session. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing all of you in the upcoming sessions which we'll be organizing. Thank you.
Thank you.